Hello and welcome to my studio. How are you today? It's lovely to have your company. So today I am going to play with my Dina Wakley journal. I bought this journal as soon as I saw it because I was like, wow, it has such different substrates. We've got watercolour paper, we've got craft card, we've got burlap. It seemed so exciting. I started using it and didn't really get on with it, and it kind of got shelved. Then I became obsessed with it once I'd kind of got to grips with some of the way the watercolour paper worked. It's more of a cotton than ones that I was used to. I then started becoming obsessed with it, and I did it all the time. And then I always kept thinking, I'm so close to finishing this journal. And now I've sort of moved on to my Pink Pig journal, and I use that a little bit more. The other day I was in my room. I wasn't in the right frame of mind for doing what I was supposed to be doing. This was on the shelf, so without filming, without any pressure of, craft related work, I literally just opened my journal, grabbed my bit box, and I put together 4 or 5 pages really, really quickly, and it was just a lovely thing to zone out. So as I was doing that, I was thinking, I'm going to set myself a challenge. So this journal, myself and one of my crafty friends, Sue Morgan, we keep calling it the never ending journal. We keep thinking, I'm so close to being finished, and then it seems to just go forever and not finished. So today I have set myself 3 hours. I have 22 pages left in this journal, which means that would be approximately 8 minutes each. So I'm going to challenge myself to see if we can finish this journal in 3 hours. So I've got this, I've got some scrap paper, I've got my bit box, and I have some old colouring. I've got a stash of old things that I've coloured years ago and never used. So can we do it? Let's see. So I have started out by pulling out a few bits and pieces. I do gradually bring in more as I go through this process, but for the start I had brought out some of my colouring, some washi tapes, and as you saw in the mess of all of that, bits from my bit box. So you can see the time there, 9:48. So I'm going to give myself 3 hours from that point and see how we get on. So in the bit box I had some canvas, canvas sticky paper. I'd used it in one of my Facebook Lives, so that was sat there in the bit box. So I just tried to sort of add a few extra threads to give it some texture. Again, there was another element in my bit box, and this was some colouring I did. This was part of the pencils class from the Kit and Clowder. You'll see quite a few of the colouring classes that I did in Kit and Clowder end up in this journal, but it was quite handy having all these coloured pieces ready to go into the journal. It meant I was able to turn them around quite easily. I realise that this is going quite fast paced at the minute. At the end of this video I do have a sort of flip through of all the things that I've done, so you will get a chance to see the pages there. So for this one I've just used a few strips of paper, a picture that I had, and a few words. This is trying to make a little bit of a page using it was the what do you call it, the Hive stencil, yeah, that's it. So that again was sat in my bit box, a few bits of scraps of paper, and I have used some embellishments from the Winter Birds kit and a little honey tot there and put it together. I have to say this isn't my favourite page of all the ones I've done, but I think what I'm trying to show in trying to set myself this challenge is to let go of overthinking. Sometimes we can spend quite a bit of time putting things in and out and moving them around and just really overthinking it. Because I'd set myself this challenge and I really wanted to get it done, I didn't have time for that. So quite often, as you saw there, it was a little bit of torn paper and a colouring sheet, and that was it. Again, this is another class from Kit and Clowder. I like those stormy skies, it's making me want to try those again. A little bit of stenciling in the background and some words from Tim Holtz, a little bit of washi, and then that's that page done as well. So this is one of my new sets, the Monster Mania collection. I have teamed that one up with a sort of florally world thing from the Atlas stencil. Quite often when I do TV, I end up having to have things at different stages, so I'd had quite a few of those sort of little Atlas things. As you can see, I've been interrupted by my little friend. She caused havoc going over my desk all the time, so yeah, that caused a little bit of an interruption, but I thought you might like to see her. This is Storm. This is our cat, and yeah, she likes to come in the studio and walk all over my desk. Then she likes to let out again. So getting back to the crafting, we have got pumpkin spice here. Again, this was a pre-coloured image sitting in my bit box. I don't particularly like the craft paper that I've put down there to start as my starting point, but so I was trying to sort of edge everything in, I think it was the marmalade one, Distress ink, to try and make it match. So I popped that in, and I picked one of the snarky comments from Tim Holtz because it seemed to suit that image. She's almost like quite villainesque, isn't she? A bit of a doodly border to finish as usual. This is a mermaid page I did a little bit. It's sort of already coming across the other side of the page, but not quite. So again, you saw a little peak of storm just there. So I just sort of put that down. Again, that was a colouring class that I did with Kit and Clowder, one of the early ones. And then, as you can see, there's a little sort of straight edge to the page that I'd done before that I wasn't loving. But by cutting up this other sheet that was in my bit box, I think that was leftovers from a challenge from Dawn and Julia Create, I've sort of managed to extend that so we don't have any nasty edges, and that's that page done. At this point I was feeling quite overwhelmed. I had done quite a lot, I'd pulled out lots of stuff, my desk was getting messier and messier, and I just couldn't cope with it anymore. So I did take some time out and just sort of tidied up, reorganised myself, because I just thought I'm going to get on so much better if I can actually manoeuvre things on my desk and find things on my desk. This is some Jane Davenport paper. This is one of the backgrounds in my journal that has been so many mop-up pages. We have all sorts on here. We have Dina Wakley glazes, we have crackle gels, I just love it, and I really loved it and couldn't wait to do it, but then at the same time I was like, oh, now I don't know what to do. So I pulled out one of my favourite Jane Davenport pages because I thought she deserved that spectacular background. Trying to make her blend into the page a little bit more, so was adding gesso so she looked like part of the page, and that's that one done. Again, two really easy pages here. I thought the colour of that one there went really well on the burlap, so I'm literally just sticking that down and tearing a few bits of paper just to sort of give it a bit of added detail. And again, we have a gorgeous background here that has got, I think it's Distress Oxide sprays and some texture paste. So because this colouring had muted colours, I sort of added this one in here with a scrap bit of paper, and that is those two pages done as well. So I appreciate this is sped up. I think it's about 4 times the speed plus, you know, I've cut chunks of it out because I do appreciate it is going quite fast. But even in real time, I really wasn't spending an awful lot of time on these pages. As I said, my mission was to not overthink, it was just to get it done. These are again part of the Monster Mania collection, and I had actually printed them off on sticker paper, which is why you saw me peeling it off there. So it's great. With digital stamps you can do so much. I am actually hoping to bring out a collection of videos showing how much you can get from your digital stamps. So I'm going to start with the basics on how to download and resize, and then we'll look at all the fun things you can do with them. So if that sounds like something you would be interested in, you may wish to consider subscribing to this channel and to hit the notification bell so that you can see when I upload. This is one of my favourite pieces of colouring. I don't know why I've never done anything with it. This is a saturated canary image, and at the time I was really into giving things these magical swirls. So that was a bit of colouring that I really liked for a long time. That was actually probably, I think it was my Facebook profile picture. So it was nice to give it a home. And yeah, so now I am back on these canvas pages. I have to say I did sort of struggle with the pages that weren't just plain paper, but we get there. I added pink dots onto that page there to try and tie it into the one that was next to it, and then hated it. So then gradually worked to cover those bits. So I coloured in the pink, then covered them over with washi, and then those flowers, and a little bit of gesso just to sort of make it look like it matched the other page. Those flowers are actually out of the same paper that's on the other page as well, so that did work well. This page I'm on now was a little bit of a mission. I love the page that's next to it, but it's really got masses going on. And quite often I was finding that when I was doing it, the page that was on the opposite side of the spread was inspiring it. So if it was like clean and simple, I was going clean and simple, but on this side it was really, really busy. So I wanted to emulate that. I'd put all these bits on, but it still wasn't looking as striking as the one next to it. So I got out this midnight blue paint and added that as well, and I think that just helped to bring it together. I was definitely a lot happier when I got to this stage. It did take up quite a bit of time because of course once it's wet it's really difficult to get going with it, so there was a lot of heat gunning going on with that. To make up for that, I literally just bish bash bosh. This was like add an outline, stick it down. That is what's quite handy about crafting in stages, having a bit box sit and colouring and having things ready. It does mean that it is possible to do quick and easy crafts if you are lacking time. So I was pulling out a few new things because I was getting a bit bored of what was on my desk. So here are some papers that I've pulled out, and I also had started using some of the Studio Light, oh, what's her name? Yeah, I will link it below. Marlene, art by Marlene. So yeah, I had some papers and bits and pieces from that. That was me just giving a time check. By this point I have 4 minutes left to fill the pages. I did at this point really start panicking, and I was just rushing to get done because I really wanted to do it. So I'm at the stage where I've just got these last 2 pages to do. So I pulled out these 2 images because they were kind of same but different, just edged them in black and stuck them down.
Okay, so as you'll have seen, I finished the journal bang on time, but I hate these 2 pages. So I was just trying so hard to finish on time that I just literally slapped these pictures down. And I think as I flick through the journal and months and years to come, these 2 pages are really going to bother me. So I am going to give myself a little leeway. I'm not sure if that's breaking rules, but then I set the rules. So anyway, because I did have a couple of bathroom breaks where, you know, obviously I went up to the house. I did have to deal with a cat, you know, causing havoc and walking across my desk. I did also stop and tidy up at one point. So I do think that affords me just an extra couple of minutes to do these 2 pages properly. Not that I love every page in this journal, but I do think these will really bother me because I literally just slapped it down and I would like to do a little bit more with it. So I am going to give myself a few more minutes grace just to finish this properly. And yeah, let's get back to it.
So I actually decided I really like these 2 pages together because, as I said, it's same but different contrast, but I don't think it works here in this journal. So I'm actually just removing these because I really want to do something good with that, and I also don't think it makes the most of the shaped edge to the page that I have got on that side. So I'm going to put them aside for another day, and I have pulled out some papers from my Whimsical Girls Jane Davenport pad. So yeah, I'm going to start off, I'm just ripping and tearing this particular page here, and that's going to become my fancy edge, and I am fussy cutting out this girl. So with the elements from those 2 different pages, I'm going to try and create a cohesive look. Both these pages will look quite different, but hopefully they should, you know, be quite cohesive. So with the scraps that are left after I've got what I want, I sort of rip and tear them so it's nice and even. And now I'm trying to make the most of that shaped edge that I've created on the other page, and I'm just going to cut round that so that yeah, so we don't lose that we actually make the most of this particular shape. I always find when a fussy cut like that, the edge can look a little bit nasty, but just by brushing a bit of Distress ink, it looks a lot better, and again a little bit of doodling. So that's that page done. I've stuck down the girl on the other side with some ripped and torn paper, and I'm just adding a few details with Distress inks and then colouring in her eyes. So giving her nice blue eyes to match the ripped paper, and then I have coloured in her lips as well. So I'm so much happier with these pages now. I have to say there's quite a few pages that I've done today that I don't love, but those ones would have really quite upset me. So I'm just going to do a flip through because I appreciate that things did go fast. So that was the first page that we did together with a saturated canary. This was a stamp that I did right at the beginning of my crafting journey, so that's just quite a simple page. That's not one of my favourite ones, and neither is this one of my favourite ones, but I do feel an art journal is not about having perfection on every page. It's about experimenting, learning and growing, and I learned a lot from this process, as I said, with regards to not overthinking too much. This was a bugaboo image that was already pre-coloured in pencils with just a little bit of torn paper, and again this was a Kit and Clowder class. I love my little alien, so that's this page here. Then we have pumpkin spice on this particular one, and the mermaids together. I like that. They're kind of very contrasting pages, but they blend together really well. And this gorgeous giraffe page. So I didn't actually show all the pages being made in the section because some of it was just a little bit rinse and repeat. It was very samey, but I thought as long as I made sure I showed you all the pages at the end, that would be good. I will do a full flip through of this journal. I'm just sort of going through the pages that I did today. I need to decorate the front cover. I'm sure we will do that together at some point, and once that is done I will do a proper flip through. This isn't particularly one of my favourite pages, so we'll not say too much about this one. Don't think I even showed you that one. And this is a colouring. I do love this colouring. I have to say, looking at all the different colouring pages, I think my colouring was better back then when I was doing the classes. So I really want to focus this year on spending a bit more time on my colouring like I used to. So that I've learned that from doing this journal. But if you do enjoy journaling, you may enjoy watching this video where I make a brand new journal entirely out of packaging.